Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Humpton, CEO of Siemens USA, and you're listening to The Optimistic Outlook. You've heard me say in recent episodes that I want to focus on AI and not consumer AI, something a bit different. As I've said, I want us to see opportunities in what we're now calling industrial AI. In recent episodes, I introduced you to Olympia Brickus, our head of AI research. In our last episode, we spotlighted policy experts who shared perspectives on how to best move industrial AI forward as a nation. What I want to bring you now are perspectives on the economic impact of industrial AI and how this technology empowers workers. Recently, Siemens and our event partner, Whitehall, launched a new series called AI for Real. Our intent is to build awareness about industrial AI and bring together stakeholders. And for this first event in New York City, we invited investors to join us with commentary from economists and thought leaders. I had a chance to give opening remarks. I then joined conversations moderated by Whitehall Chairman and CEO Steve Clemons. With us were Nathan Sheets, Global Chief Economist of Citigroup, Dr. Stefan Verhulst, Co-founder and Chief Researcher and Development Officer, The GovLab, and Navroop Sadev, CEO, The Digital Economist. I'll take you through my own comments. I'll also share with you some insights from the conversation that stood out to me. Let's first think about our series title, AI for Real. What do we mean by this? We actually heard this come up in conversation with Navroop and Steve. This idea that, yes, we now have these large language models. We have platforms to leverage open data. But what if, instead, we applied AI with a more deliberate mindset? What if we define our purpose in developing and using AI as solving problems that need to be solved and creating new value? Here's Steve, and you'll hear Navroop responding to his comments.
And I think a lot of the discussion of AI often is very amorphous, very big, so big it's used as in shorthand for meaning lots of different things. And a lot of people say, hey, we've had it for a long time. There's a very new power to AI, and I keep saying maybe we need to figure out what problems we're trying to solve in society or solve in business. And then begin rolling in that direction. But let me ask you a question. Anybody a surfer in here? Anybody a real surfer?
Tried.
Anybody
a surfer?
Wait, your hand went up. You were shy. Who is a surfer and is shy? I have always. I'm a wannabe surfer. My emoji I always put on everything is the surfer emoji. But I'm not. I look at it as a metaphorical surfer because I've never quite gotten up on the board. But I want to. If anybody wants to talk to me about it later. But the reason I mention is I sort of look at AI as being a giant wave, like it's coming. The waves are very big of what's coming, and so and I've always sort of thought to myself, how do we help people or businesses or the different components surf a bigger wave, a bigger, cooler wave, right? And that's what I come to you when I think about the workforce and I think what happened. One thing is to worry and resent change.
Right.
The other thing is to no, the wave is coming. There's nothing you can really do about it. So what do you do?
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in those pieces.
Great question. So we have AI, which is 70 years old, 80 years old, effectively, right? Barbara, to your point, everybody's been using AI. If you have an iPhone or you have any smartphone, really, you are using AI. If you're on the internet, you're using AI. I think what is transformative that happened over the past 2 years is that the use of AI, generative AI, is no longer restricted to large corporations or institutions. It is in the hands of the end user. So now the world's waking up like, whoa, this is real. That's why we are here. What is AI for real, right? And so this awareness is a shift in consciousness towards Stefan was earlier. I'm kind of a little spiritual and philosophical about it, right? Yeah. Because you have to think things through from first principles, right? Like, what do you stand for, right? And the way to address what you just said, Steve, is to give power of data in people's own hands.
Hey, and here's the thing. That's what industrial AI is all about. Putting power, putting data directly into the hands of the people running the industrial world, from engineers to technicians. Think about it this way. Consumer AI pulls large swaths of data from many open sources. Industrial AI uses secure data sets coming from sensors in a controlled environment so workers can take advantage of machine learning. Did you know that in manufacturing, 80% of data is wasted? We're now able to capture this data and draw conclusions that would literally be impossible for any one of us to do if we were standing on that factory floor. This technology expands what is humanly possible. In fact, I like how Stefan Verhulst with the GovLab put it. He said that it's helping us to rethink intelligence. Here's Steve and Stefan.
So as we discuss AI for real today with Barbara and so many others, is it really real from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, of course, anyway, what are we really talking about? Are we talking about technological breakthroughs, or are we talking about something bigger? And from my point of view, we're really talking about something bigger. And I think it's really about rethinking intelligence as we know it. And I think that's really what we should focus on, not just on the technologies such as AI, which is basically...
So take that a step further.
Take it a step further.
Rethinking intelligence as we know it.
It's all about rethinking intelligence, and also how intelligence is actually being retaught and reconceptualized within manufacturing, but also within daily life, and also in an area that I work a lot within science as well. Mm-hmm. And we see this in three fields. So one is really about the fact that our cognitive abilities have scaled and changed dramatically, right? So it's not about just processing data and processing a lot of information. It's also about changing the way we reason about particular kind of problems, and also, as a result, becoming far more creative in actually coming up with unique solutions that we couldn't imagine, because before we actually didn't have the cognitive abilities to actually become creative. And I think creativity ultimately will emerge as a result of new kind of intelligences that we see. Second manifestation that I see is not just about cognitive abilities, but it's also about the cognitive infrastructure that we have. In the past, a lot of the knowledge was basically centralized, was kind of locked up to a large extent, was not networked. And what we see as a result of both AI and especially now generative AI, we see actually that the cognitive infrastructure is becoming decentralized and is also becoming networked, which means that you actually can start seeing correlations that you didn't see before. And that's also creating a new kind of intelligence that actually leads to breakthroughs, leads to innovation, because innovation to a large extent is about connecting kind of insights that we had but never connected before. And now we can actually do that to a large extent as a result of AI.
A point I made is that the ability to expand what's humanly possible or rethink intelligence can have an even larger impact than increasing productivity. AI can help us achieve something even bigger. I think it's also going to help us achieve the national goal of revitalizing and growing American manufacturing. I'm optimistic about the future of American manufacturing. I think the industrial sector is actually the space to watch. And let me share why. You know, for decades, we witnessed what some called globalization on steroids. We made our manufacturing decisions based on where was the cheapest labor? How can we squeeze the next nickel out of our production? And in fact, it wasn't until COVID hit us that we realized that we needed a new equation. We needed resilience. Meanwhile, as disruption hit us, along came the technology that empowers the ability to make things more locally. We saw globalization evolve into what I've been calling glocalization. This is the future. Okay, but there's still something else being ignited behind the scenes. You see, we've gotten used to a dynamic where the digital world advances exponentially, while the industrial world moves incrementally. But wait a second, here comes industrial AI. It's not only helping teams leverage data, it's making other core technologies like digital twins and automation more powerful. It's even giving us generative applications like industrial co-pilots that make it much easier for teams to transform their operations. With industrial AI, industry is catching up. The worlds of tech and industry are merging into one. What we're seeing now is the rise of a new industrial tech sector. And with America's leadership in AI and innovation, no other nation has a stronger foundation for this new industrial tech sector to flourish. Investing in the future of American manufacturing is a no-regret move. But again, I want to bring this back to people. Technology is only as powerful as the people behind it. We still need to ask ourselves, are we doing enough to develop and attract a manufacturing workforce? Stefan is saying essentially that AI will augment human ingenuity. It'll transform how we innovate and approach tough problems. Nathan Sheets with Citigroup looked at it from another angle. He raised the question of how can AI be an equalizer? How can AI make it easier to bring people without specialized education or training into manufacturing? I'm going to let this clip roll here with a couple points of clarification. First, you'll hear references to a plant in Fort Worth, Texas. This is a new high-tech factory that Siemens opened in February. In fact, I was proud to see this factory recognized last month by the White House at an event highlighting companies that are investing in America. I'll correct myself too. I said we were hiring more than 700 people in Fort Worth. Even better, it's actually now more than 800. Lastly, and I laughed listening to this again, thank you, Steve, for recognizing our contributions to developing the world's most comprehensive, powerful digital twin. We really appreciate that support. All right, here it is.
But look, I mean, I want to get a little tension going here. So I want to quote something that you wrote, I think, in a Barron's article last year. And you said, but AI technologies look poised to evolve into full-blown substitutes for labor. And if you go and you talk out there to Americans, labor unions, screen actor writers, screen actor guild types, whatever, the top, people working on the GM assembly line, the top anxiety they have is that they're going to be displaced by AI. Barbara made a very bold statement up here that said that is not going to happen. So I just want to know, are you wrong or are you right?
Right. It always scares me when somebody quotes to me something that I said a year ago. It always makes me nervous. So I think I'm partially right, and I think Barbara's partially right. And the IMF recently did a study, and they looked at a broad range of occupations, and they classified them into those where AI would be synergistic and complementary, which is the Barbara space, and then into those where AI would be a substitute or it would replace those workers, which is more my Barron's 2024 space.
Right.
And then there was a third category where AI is
So you've evolved.
AI was just irrelevant. And I think that the reality is there is a risk of substitution, but there's another category where it's gonna be complementary. And I think the debate is kind of how big are each one of those bins.
So Barbara, do you agree with what Nathan, how he just laid it out?
Let's look at it this way. Today, there are some have I got this right? Yeah, about 500,000 open manufacturing jobs across the United States. Literally, we can't find enough people to get the jobs done. What kind of work do people want to do? Well, it turns out that if you can bring them into an environment where they get to work in a tech environment, where they get to work with technology that feels a little bit more like playing a video game, they might not think of it as that old dark, dangerous, and dirty manufacturing of years ago. Come to our Fort Worth facility, and just very quickly, I'll tell you, this is a full circle kind of thing. How much electricity does an AI data center require? A lot. How do you move that electricity? With stuff called switchboards and switchgear. Who makes that? Siemens makes that. We needed to build a new factory to meet the demand of hyperscalers. We built a factory in Fort Worth and needed 700 new workers. Where are you going to get those folks? Talk about the perfect bootstrap story. Our leaders down in Texas said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hire retired high school principals and teachers. We're going to put up a curriculum on site. So literally people come off the sidelines. We've got former pizza delivery drivers, former cashiers coming to work at Siemens. They go through the curriculum, then they get an opportunity to work on virtual versions of their machines using AI. The whole factory was built with first a digital twin of what we were going to build, so we'd make sure we did it right. We built that factory in 15 months.
Let's stop there for a minute. Do you know what a digital twin is?
I do.
Do you know that they're the digital twin people?
I like
Do you know
that.
Siemens
The world's most
created the digital
I like
twin?
that. My colleague who follows manufacturing has talked to me about digital twins. But can I?
You know that's a Siemens thing.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Coin the
I
term,
thought
man.
Yeah.
I thought it was. It's a beautiful term. But let me comment on that. When we talk about technology, we are hardwired to think that who wins with technology? People with skills win. Who loses? People without skills lose. But I think, as you're suggesting, AI may fundamentally shift that balance in some dramatic ways. And specifically, some of the economic research is suggesting that who benefits the most from AI? It's people without expertise and people who are less skilled, because AI can create that offset that deficit in their skills and their understanding, and it tends to equalize performance. So
I couldn't agree more. We've heard concerns that AI is coming for manufacturing jobs, when frankly, nothing could be further from the truth. This is an opportunity to bring people off the sidelines. Manufacturing is the sector where people can learn on the job and advance to a high-skilled position. Thanks so much for listening, and please now go to the show notes to learn more or to connect with me on LinkedIn. Please follow us on social media and on your favorite podcasting platform. Thank you for tuning in.